All right, nice. We're clapped. We're ready to go. Let's get ready to rumble. Because I've been on the dirt sheets, boys. I have been deep in the time zone where I live. You know, you get there into the forums of hltv.org, and that's when they're not moderated because nobody fucking awake at that time of the day. Just me and a couple of scoundrels, a couple of people making some interesting threads. And I wanted to dive into this to kick off today's episode. I wanted to talk about Counter-Strike cage fights. I want us to teleport ourselves to a hypothetical scenario, like a different world where these players, as we know them in our current world, would be going toe-to-toe. Let's just go with some basic MMA rules. So we're not going to go anything crazy. You're not pulling out weapons. You know, there's no one's going nuts. There's no, you know, steel cage. There's no chairs coming out. But look, there was. Yeah, I know. But I wanted to just gauge the interest here. I wanted to get the two of you acting as a bit of a judging panel, kind of theorizing who would be winning some of these bouts. I've written down, how many have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bouts here on our card for the day. And this one all started with, and this is kicked off with the whole JKS benching situation, and to do with who was going to be playing for
JKS
Mouse.
versus the teammates from G2, like.
No, nothing like that. But the first one, so I thought I would go with the HLTV thread, and I'd bring, and this one here I feel would be over instantly. I don't even think this one would be a fight. I just wanted, this is the original thread, and this is what they were talking about: JKS versus Brolin. I don't even think there's a conversation here.
Brolin. I'd take JKS.
Yeah,
I don't think he's got like a killer attitude or anything like that, but I feel like JKS has got like some secret like Australian strength hidden deep in there. But he's sinewy, you know? I would imagine.
Well, what's Brolin going to bring? He's like a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've ever heard him talk. So JKS.
But
Right, well, that was easy.
I thought you were going to go like with beefs.
No, there'll be a few that'll have
beef.
some beefs here. This was just a thread because Brolin is standing in for Mouse at the World Finals.
Okay.
Right? I think people wanted JKS to be playing for Mouse at the World Finals.
I get it. Well, I think it would have been better, but I don't know if they already, moved the ball with Brolin or whatever.
Yeah, he's locked.
But between the two, right now, I would definitely get. When they learned about JKS being available, potentially they already locked Brolin in. But yeah, right now I'm going with JKS, although Brolin is one of those guys that I just don't want to admit. I don't want to accept the fact that he's like bad. I still believe he can be good in the right environment. But, that's maybe just me being delusional. That happens pretty often.
But what about a fist fight here, Yanka?
Shit, that would be lame as fuck. But I guess JKS, he'd have to fight an occasional dingo or kangaroo or something while Brolin is shielded in Sweden. What?
Justin's a bit of a runner. He likes to run, so the cardio be going. This is opening up the card for this evening, right? So it's probably gonna be over in one round.
Yeah, this is the one when people are still coming in. It's late. You're going grabbing a drink, right? You're just like starting to get the juices flowing, really.
Yeah. But then we're going to move on to something that it gets quite interesting almost immediately. Now, I didn't put these in any particular order. We're just going to read them in the order that I've written them down in. I don't know why, but we'll see how far we can get with this. Okay, so the next one I went for, it feels like it would be quite the barn burner of a brawl. Now, this one here, we're going to pick one of the biggest members in Counter-Strike currently, Blame F, right? The boulder, the man, the myth, the legend, the work ethic, the gym junkie. He's shredded. I don't know how he is fighting, going up against someone who I would consider a bit of a powerlifter himself, a Norwegian, another Viking, Rain. Blame F taking on Rain, hand-to-hand combat. Now, this one, I don't even know where this would land. This is two big boys going toe-to-toe.
Ooh.
Fuck, you picked some tough ones, man, to start.
I wish I had like their height and their weight, and then we could actually have something to go off here. But this one, because obviously
I think Rain has him on the reach. I think Rain has better
I'm taking
reach.
Blame F. I'm taking Blame F all day in that fight. Rain's not quick enough. Like in like video games, if someone picks like the big, powerful motherfucker, you got to pick like the short, quick character. You got to use speed to get past all the power.
This isn't Mario Kart and you're picking fucking Toad, bro. What are you talking about?
It's fucking Soul Calibur and I'm picking Chantois. That's what I'm doing right now.
Fuck, I don't get either of those references.
You gotta be able to get past the defense, and Rain can't do that for sure. And here's the thing: Rain can't deliver enough power to hurt Blame F.
What?
That would
Rain's
be
got a kid.
You're delusional.
Rain's got a kid. He's got dad strength.
Bro.
He's got dad strength.
Blame has that pretty boy strength, and
okay, it's all
Rain
for show.
has that country boy strength.
that farm boy Iowa
one connect
strength.
with that chisel jaw of Blame F, and he's down. I'm going with my boy in Rain, man.
I feel like Blame's going to gas as well because he is so muscular, right? But he's going to have to use a lot of energy to be getting anything done. Whereas Rain, I think he's muscular as well, and that's why I went with the powerlifter. Right? I reckon he's going to be out there.
And also, Rain just had a child, and a man that's had a child, he can handle anything, right, Jason?
Yeah, he gets 10 times better in fights too. You should have seen my last.
Have you just
bar
talked
brawl.
yourself into this? You just talked yourself into voting for Rain, Jason?
No, but dads do have superpowers. I'm still going to Blame F. One punch, bro, and it's over. He lands one hit. One hit.
Well,
even if he lands it, Rain's not going down, man. You're underestimating him.
It's unfortunate, Jason, because you've lost this 2-1. Yanko and I have both gone for Rain.
God, I
so the
hate
Norwegian's
democracy.
taken that one. Now, Yanko, you wanted some grudges. You wanted some grudges here. Now, this one here has got it written all over it. And it's not a belt they're fighting over. It's a woman. It's going to be Swisher taking on Stown. It's it's going to be one of the greatest grudge matches that has graced Counter-Strike cage fighting ever. This one here, we know it's got a... What was it, Jay Cranny? Was that the... I got the correct lady in question here, but regardless... We know Big Swish, he had a thing or two to say on the Twitter sphere. Stown, he's been quiet. He's made another little...
so fucking awkward. He's just constantly tweeting at them, and they're like ignoring him. It's like, what is anyone supposed to say, bro? I think it was Cadian who ultimately replied to him one time or something. I can't remember.
Cadian having his boys back. When it mattered most.
Not anymore.
I can't say
Cadian's actually in Swish's corner for this fight.
Yeah, now he is. The drama's everywhere.
It's like, I have to go with this is Swisher hands down, simply because
Stown's huge, tall. He's got some reach on him though.
Yeah, man. But no, the point is,
Brittle.
it's there's nothing in this for Stone. He doesn't care, you know. There's no motivation for him for this fight. While for Swisher, it's sort of defending his pride or whatever, getting even. I don't know. So he's going to be super motivated for this one, just going to go all in. I think it's Swisher for this one.
I'm taking Swisher as well, but I think there's a twist. I think there's going to be a $1 million baby situation. Swish is going to just destroy him throughout the whole fight. He's celebrating. He's got his hand raised. He's walking back to his corner, and Stown's going to come in and just push his head right into a wooden stool in the ring, and it's over from there.
Or it might be a bit of a WWE where just you see Yabby stab him in the back.
Yabby jumps off the top rope,
comes from behind and just.
Holy shit.
Now you know how Cadian felt.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That guy, I like this though. It does have a showman element to it. We're getting Bold and the Beautiful here. I like it.
It's the special power, the special move of Stown as he calls Yabby and taps him in.
It is it's a tag team type wrestling situation. Vince McMahon comes out and says it's by the rules. Swisher can't do anything about it. It all just falls apart. Okay. All right, so this one would be Swish, clearly the better fighter, but Stown gets it done in the dirty method. All right, here's another one that this one is going back in history. I need you guys to remember Once Upon a Time. Now, the two in question, maybe not directly connected, but we know something did connect. Fur versus Kirby.
Ooh.
Now, this one, Kirby's definitely been hitting the gym in the recent years, but Fur, we know that he a big boy
living
as well.
in the gym.
Yes, so we got a Brazilian taking on a Dane. Lots of Danes actually featuring in quite a few of these fights here this evening. If I look at the rest of the card, I've got even more Danes coming up. So this one, I'm not sure. I think that I think Fur's got that dog in him. I think he's got that grit about him. I think he could really go a bit more.
I'll tell you what.
Primal, but
you never fuck with a man like Fur who's quiet and soft spoken and just sits there. He knows he could kill you, but he's got restraint, and you don't fuck with that kind of a guy.
That's what I'm talking about. The aggression is inside Fur. He doesn't let it out. He's not it's not wearing it on his sleeve or anything. But if it's a fucking, well, it's not life or death. We're not doing life or death cage fighting here. We're just doing KO or submission here. But I reckon Fur's got it. I think he has that pent up aggression inside him, ready to just fucking unleash in a moment's notice.
He's got the confidence of already knowing. He can land a hit
from his brother, of course.
Yeah,
runs in the family. I think.
Oh yeah, it was his brother, wasn't it? I forgot about that.
I think Jason described it perfectly. It's Fur has that sort of a silent assassin vibe around him. Doesn't flaunt it too much or anything, just gets shit done. So I'd have to go with
You'll
her.
like this, Yanko. First like Strider in Lord of the Rings in that little bar in like the little village. He's sitting in the corner smoking his pipe, hood over his head. Nobody's anywhere close to him. Everyone just looks over and is like, you don't fuck with this guy in the corner. That's Fur.
That's my man. Thank you, Jason.
Now I didn't get that reference. So if you could maybe try
Chad, you've been down there. You've been down there for like 2 months now, and you haven't made a trip over to New Zealand to go see the Hobbit Village.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like 7 to 9 hours away from Perth. So it's not like I may as well just start flying back to Europe. Like, what are we talking about? It's a different country as well as on the other side of my country, which is just a little bit smaller than the contiguous United States.
Honestly, whenever someone tells me they're Australia, I just imagine Sydney. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not any disrespect
I'm on the same
to Perth. It's just,
Well, no one gives a fuck about Perth. I'm on the same time zone as China. Like that's how different things are. Sydney's 3 hours ahead at the moment, Sydney and Melbourne. So, all right, I got two more, and then we can get to some serious conversation. This one I think is interesting. So we have the bar brawler himself, Config. We know that he likes to throw down, but we know he likes to get his leg broken. And then we have JL. Now JL's a gentle giant, right? He seems like a kind guy, but he definitely does get pumped up, and he's a big boy, right? He's a tall lad. So JL's got some stuff to throw around. And this one here, there's no grudge between the two of them. I just thought it'd be an interesting matchup.
Oof. It is indeed interesting. First of all, depends on how many drinks his config had in him before the fight.
Is more better or worse?
There's a sweet spot.
There's a sweet spot, exactly.
It's like
0 is bad and too many is bad. But a sweet spot where he just gets wants to get a little bit aggressive, but he's still in charge of his limbs. I think that's like the optimum limit. I know what you're saying. Like JL, he seems like such a nice guy. Maybe he's like, that's just who he is. But if you fuck with him, there's another side to him. But it's just like, it's hard to see it. This is one that like you would expect it to be a lot, but would be just a disappointing fight in the end. I feel like kind of.
Yeah, but I'm going to take JL because I think there is a breaking point for that guy. Config's coming off an injury. No one really knows if that knee can handle all of his weight. No one really knows what it's going to look like come game time.
Ankle, knee, wrist. The list goes on.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
What was it, slipping in an airport with a coffee? That's how he did the wrist?
Yeah, that's how I did the wrist. He had the leg in Malta.
He needs to drink more milk, Config, or something, right? We gotta get this guy's bones. They're a bit brittle. What's going on, man? All right, we'll see if we can send Config. Yanko, are you gonna go with Config or JL?
I'm gonna go with JL because I just think Config, as always, will find a way to beat stepping
into the ring before the match even starts. He has to call it right at the go.
This one of them doesn't make weight or something, and this one doesn't happen. All right, and finally. This is a bit of a blockbuster matchup, and not for any. This is another one I just thought this would be interesting because I was trying to find who could fight who might weigh up quite well. This was Yanko's boy Nico. So we've got Yanko in the corner, Kasad's there as well. They're both like throwing water.
Whole country of Serbia in that corner, baby.
Against Tom Cruise, aka Device. So this is an interesting little bout here because Device is obviously a fit lad as well as Nico. They both value their health. I don't know who's going to throw down. I've never seen either of them in remotely aggressive positions before.
But both of them have like that pent up anger, right? Like that's like that monitor punching, seething frustration, just kind of building right.
And they're top tier competitors.
Yeah. Ooh, this is intriguing.
I have a curveball for you.
All right.
All right. Device needs to take a break and has to bail on the fight. And in steps Cadian.
Okay.
Oh, now, there's no love lost between the two, right?
Yes.
There was that time where Cadian was shouting like, "Nico, you're untalented" or something like that, and just like trying to pile on in some tournament, right? So I think that could be a more interesting one.
Okay, I see what you've done here. I should have done like Cadian versus Glaive as well. We know they've got a little bit of beef, right? That could have been fun right there, yeah. So you've taken Device out. So Device he's gone, I'm actually not up for this. And we brought in, I think Cadian would have the reach over Nico, that's for sure. I think Cadian's taller than Nico. But I reckon
he's got the
Nico might have a bit more muscle on him. Yeah. Yeah,
it's a tough one because Nico isn't really like, he's not at all an aggressive sort of a guy.
He's a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, I never seen him like get into an argument with that. Like when you're out and about and just like in any bullshit like that. He's just like, and Cadian, he is like super intense as like the leader or whatever. But I don't know he seems more chill. Although we do have those like from back in the day, some of the videos and shit. I can't even remember what it was like, or
I think I'd take a Cadian. He'd have like some Rocky montage leading into this fight of him like kicking chairs and like fucking, you know, ripping headphone cords out of the PC. He'd be ready for this fight.
Well, maybe we can let the people at home let us know who
it's a shock, but I'll go with Nico because like
that is a surprise.
I feel like, you know, if this were a thing, he would just like fucking go into the woods for 4 weeks, like in Rocky 4 when he goes to fucking Alaska or Russia or wherever the fuck he went in the cold to train. Russia. Like he would do whatever it took, you know. And he does have a bit of muscle on Cadian, and Cadian's Danish.
It's that sinewy muscle. It's that lean muscle.
Well, this is the segue that I've just come up with, Jason. We will need to make sure that the Discord link to our Discord that is going to be as bare bones as possible is available, so we can get the people at home who are going to join our Discord community to tell us who they think we're going to win any of these fights and more. And maybe there's some talented people out there, and they could make a fight poster for one of their favorite matches in this. See this segue? It's like I intended it, but I didn't beautiful. At all.
Yeah.
Well, we do. Yeah, we do want to do this, right? We want to build a bit more of a community. We want to be able to get involved with the people because they do send invoices. No, they don't do that. They send emails every now and again. And I think if we did it on Discord, it could be a bit more of a community-based conversation. Maybe we could pick it up a bit more. Maybe we could even do things across the Discord. I'm kind of thinking out loud right now.
Yeah, please don't send us invoices. There is no money in the Talking Counter war chest. We cannot pay these invoices.
Well,
but yeah, it is a 2024 goal is to really build out some Discord as we go, so we can do a few more cool things with everyone and add a few things to the show. So yeah, that'll be a priority. As you said, bare bones. As I'm looking over at the Talking Counter Discord channel right now, there is no text channel, so I might need to create one of those.
Well, yeah. Look, if you can give me the link as well, so I could join.
I put it in the Discord the other day.
In the Discord,
I put it in the
Discord.
WhatsApp. I put it in the WhatsApp.
Did you really?
I did.
Did you actually?
But I'll put it again at the end of the show.
Oh, that's
and also, I mean, you guys feel free to just tweet at us or something if you have any ideas or anything you'd like to be a part of this, like that you would enjoy doing. So
yeah, what are we thinking so far for this Discord? We're thinking like an AMA episode, like answering questions in the Discord, bringing them up on show. I think we should do. I wonder if we could get people to like record their own voice of asking us a question and throw that in there and answer the questions. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I'm pretty sure we can do that on Anchor as well, but that would be fun, right? I think what we should start doing is maybe not every episode, maybe even just once a month, where we have a bit more time and availability like that. We could do an episode where the last half an hour is dedicated to listening to different bits and bobs that people have sent our way and discussing some of those things, because there's definitely a lot of interesting viewpoints out there, and there's also things that I think we take for granted based off of just either things that we've spoken about on this podcast or these other podcasts, all the conversations we traditionally have, all that kind of shit. And there's probably a lot of things that we just either like gloss over that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. So it'd be great to just
others, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I just think more interaction in that way. We'll try and bolster a few of our things. Now, there's some people in the comments of the YouTube videos and stuff, and do more videos. Add the webcams. We're not adding the webcams. We're not into the webcams for the audio only episodes. But when we're in person at events, we will endeavor to do as many episodes as possible with the cameras and all that kind of jazz. So it does give that visual element to everybody. It's just we're just here having a conversation. I tell you right now, you don't really want to see what the fuck's going on in my space. There's an unmade bed in the background, and that's about it. It's not very exciting. I can tell you that much, and I will be the one to decide that. So I've told you it's not very exciting.
Take an agency over your own webcam. I admire it.
Yeah. I don't even turn webcams on for fucking meetings. Like when I have meetings with people and stuff and they have it on, I'm like, fuck, like I guess the only way I would do it is if I was like having to do, if I was in like a lecture or something, or I was at school and the teacher had to see me to make sure I was paying attention. It's like, come on, man.
Even then, what's the penalty? You're talking about like maybe like 5% off my assignment? Because I'll take that 5% hit.
Yeah, taking the risk. Well, I don't know if you even get a choice. I think it's like an attendance thing, right? I have no idea. I'm kind of talking out of my ass. I never had to do anything over. Like we missed that generation. Where maybe the people at home in our Discord can let us know. Anyway, I'll stop harping on about that. I did want to not get Yanko's opinion about the Furia situation just yet. But
Let's warm up a little bit more,
I look, I wanted to see what's going on in the lives of you two gentlemen. Anything exciting happened since our last episode? There was a couple of headlines from the last episode, wasn't there?
Editor's note, Yanko experienced some technical issues, so we had to restart the recording, and I have spliced them together amateurishly. Wow, double clapper. A double clapper, what a treat.
The clap twice tonight, Jason, but you're all barred up, and I'm sure it's not over STI. So you were just talking about your little home project and dusting and cleaning it off. What was the purpose of said wood?
They're going to be paneling for the back of the kitchen island. It's just going to be like reclaimed barn wood. We had a barn about 20 minutes away that's like 100 years old that the family was tearing down because it's no longer safe. It was built in an era where there wasn't really a whole lot of oversight into these kinds of things. Really janky like wood beams, but style of wood that they don't make anymore. So I went and got like 10 or 12 boards and had to like spray them off, clean all the dirt off, sprayed them down with like this chemical to treat for like termites and like wood beetles. I don't want to bring that shit into the house. And then it dries, and then we gotta cut it up and screw it into the.
I just laughing. Jason's become one of those guys. They don't make wood like this anymore. You're not that old, bro. Come on.
It's got the appreciation for the finer things in life.
But one thing I've learned by like remodeling, because like my house was built like 40 years ago, 50 years ago, something like that. And like you can just tell like the different quality of like the materials that were used when it was built versus like when we had to do some like remodeling. Like you can just see it. It's weird. But yeah, I've learned an appreciation for that shit, for the way they used to make things. I'm old. I'm a boomer.
Well, we're getting there. We are definitely getting up. Yanko is the youngest of the bunch. Sorry, it's getting late. It's getting late for me. We're on opposite ends of the spectrum again here this evening, all of us, and Yanko's smack bang in the middle. But we're getting up there a bit. When you think about it, when a player like Jimmy is 17 now, is Jimmy 17 yet? When you're dealing with that, we're dealing with this generation of Counter-Strike players, and they're fucking amazing these days. I keep reflecting like on how Counter-Strike was played, 20 years ago, or even at my point, I guess.
He wasn't even born when we started playing Counter-Strike.
Exactly. That's how mental it is. Right? And you think about like how the game's kind of evolved and how it's been played over all those years. But anyway, just quickly on some life stuff. There was a fire not that long ago because we were just talking about wood, and it was up near my parents' house, and like a whole bunch of houses got burnt down, and it was getting to the point where my parents' house was on like watch and fucking act type thing, which is you potentially might have to evacuate and stuff. So that happened. That was pretty exciting for a little while there in the least possible way of being exciting. That's about it in the news of my life.
Okay. Bianca, what you got going on? Yeah. You had skullz and Wilton out there. You got to hang out with the Brazilians.
Yeah, I mean, that was fun. They just needed a place to stay for a couple of weeks. First, he reached out to me to help him with like finding an apartment or something. And I was like, hey, why don't you just come to the, if I could rent him the PCs or something, I was like, just come to the boot camp. We have a 1 room free at the time, and you guys can just play from there. And then I was like, hey, it would be actually cool to do something because, their roster is about to be announced. At the time, it was hush-hush, but would be cool to sort of just get, chat with them and talk about, like, the Liquid's new roster, talk about, the Brazilian scene and some of Zeus's, Zeus coming back as a coach, all that sort of stuff, what happened with Payne, talk to skullz a little bit about that. It wasn't too long. It was like a 45-minute thing, so... Yeah, that was that was a lot of fun. I'm really impressed with skullz. Having the opportunity to like hang out with him a couple of times. We went out for dinner like once or twice as well. So it's like one of those players that's, he's young. He doesn't have like a ton of experience, but he has a really, really good mindset. Just in general, and also coming into Team Liquid, understanding what his, what's expected of him, what his responsibilities are, not in any like, I want to like do I don't know what, or in a sense that there's I don't know which expectations, but also wanting to show that he, deserves a place on the roster and prove himself really. And I asked him also about. Was it always kind of the plan to go international? We were thinking about it. It was like, yeah, pretty much. I've worked on it. His English is fine in a sense. You can communicate with him, no problem and everything. Sure, it will probably get a little bit getting used to when it comes to, talking in CS, but I don't think it's going to be like a problem for Liquid. So I'm excited for that new roster.
It's an interesting mix of players, isn't it? Like when you look at that type of players that they've picked up there, the first thing I see is like the type of persona that you're going to have with your Kindicadian, right? And then I think Twist as well. I've mentioned this a couple of times before, like in terms of those blokes getting like fired up and stuff. It'd be interesting to see with and Zeus, right? Even the four of those guys, they all, there's a lot of hype behind them. Obviously, Naf, we know he's just a fucking stoic. skullz would be interesting to see how he kind of fits.
I think Naf will
mix.
break out. I think Naf will break out of his shell in this team. I really
do. Tell me why.
Well, I mean, I'm not for any in-game reason. I just think you're going to see more like emotional reaction out of him. This is the first time Liquid's ever going to have like a hype energy team. They've never been that team throughout their entire existence. They've always kind of been like the chill, low energy. I think the last time we saw them with any kind of like crazy energy in terms of like, getting pumped up during matches is like 2016 back when Simple was on the roster. I was gonna say when Simple, like even Stewie like brought some during 2019, but it wasn't like team wide. Like Twist got into it a little bit more, but you still never like kind of got that feeling. It was just sort of like, oh, this is sick. They're actually getting hyped up. And even then it was really only during like the IGS run. But yeah, I think they have the good ingredients to be a little bit more of a hype team because Twist loves it. I think Twist is going to start, Twist seems like someone who's really kind of growing into some kind of like a role where he's no longer content to just be like a passenger in the boat, so to speak. He doesn't want to just be along for the ride. He's going to influence a little bit more of like the team atmosphere. Cadian's obviously going to bring a whole new aspect to it. Wilton, Brazilian, loves getting fucking hype. skullz probably maybe be a little bit timid with his inexperience, but this team's ready to pop off. This team's ready to go fucking ham during these games.
Yeah, and we did talk about that. I asked him about, you have Cadian, but then you have Yakindar, who's very strong-willed, I believe were the exact words I used, being nice and all. And then, Zeus also as a coach. I mean, you don't want to just be there and not do anything, right? Like you have your own ideas, thoughts, and whatnot. And Twist, who's such an accomplished player, right? You see where I'm going with this. So yeah, that's something. I think they started off with like a 5-day boot camp, no PCs sort of a thing, where they just discuss everything. I think Edward, they got him on board as well, to the sports, the performance coach. So,
Edward's come in for Liquid as well.
So
I know they wanted to get him for a long time in the previous lineup. They were like working on bringing him over when he was with G2, and they couldn't get him. So he's been in the crosshairs for a while.
So they are aware of sort of the things they need to do and the steps they need to take, and what are some of the potential threats, for that lineup really from within, and sort of just clearing the air before anything gets started and defining the roles and who's responsible for what. So in the conversation, that one and the unofficial talks, the informal talks we've had, they have a pretty good grasp of what they need to do and which issues they need to tackle from the get-go. And the conversation is, of course, the first, tournament that they're really piking for is the major, because they need time to figure things out. But they're not really, it's not like that. They understand that the roster is built to be the best in the world, right? And that sooner or later, you're going to have to show signs that you're capable of that, or there are going to be changes. There's no strict timetable. There's no really rush. Oh, we have to do this at the major. We have to do this in Katowice. There's nothing like that. The only goal is like we have to play good CS, right? Like, and I think that should be the focus for any team, because if that's your focus, then the results eventually will come.
And they actually have a pretty nice ramp up to the major as well, right? There's Blast Spring groups that they'll play in. There's IM Katowice that they'll play in. So they'll get plenty of opportunities to kind of gauge where they're at and fix a few things before the NA RMR comes around in early March. So I think,
but also the status quo is not really set right now, right? Like, I understand that we still have these events lingering towards the end of the year, but a lot of these, like, for example, the World Finals, teams have qualified throughout the year. And you go into that type of event, Heroic doesn't even have a fucking roster that's worth, sneezing at. So the like Ents, I think, are still in some kind of like a free fall pattern, even with the signing of Glaive. I think that there's a lot of conversation around Nerds, Madden, Sampayas, maybe even Deho in the mix there of potentially getting taken to other teams or players. There's a lot of interest around those type of guys. G2, a lot of people are talking about these fucking online results. We'll get to that. But I think right now you have some good teams. You have some teams that are still trying to piece things back together, but I don't think, it's going to harm them a lot by not having a lot going on at the end of this year, going into next. I think people are still learning the meta and how they even want to approach the newer version of Counter-Strike. There's still updates going on, a couple of them a week at the moment. So I think it's actually a pretty good time for them to have actually been able to take a break and take stock and then get things rolling on their own terms. Whereas a lot of teams now, you've been trying to make roster changes between events and then you're going in as a fucking dead team or a team that knows a player's leaving or knowing that you're changing this guy. You've got to fucking stand in. It's like, it just feels worthless. It feels like wasted time outside of the outcome of that event. Like if you win that event, yeah, fucking sick. Great, cool. We won the event. That's awesome. If you don't, then it could be more detrimental for some of these teams. So we are just in a bit of an interesting spot, but this is much more exciting than the last Liquid roster.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if we stick with the Liquid thing, like, what are your guys' thoughts on them? Because I'm obviously pretty hyped for it. I think it's awesome. I think it's the best Liquid roster.
Feels like they're fake American. They're a fake American team. That's what it feels like to me right now. Like, and I don't mean that in like a negative way. They've obviously made sure they had skullz or a Brazilian representative because there was rumors they wanted Quesarado, right? Making sure that they can maintain the three. So Twist, NAF, and that of skullz. But I tell you this much: both Twist and NAF would be more than happy to go and fucking live in Europe. The drop of a hat. Those two lads, no issue in the world. So if this could be
imagine
a
most
North
of their year
American,
will be spent in Europe. Actually,
Yes.
yeah, and that would be sick.
No, it
Oh, yeah? You got that on authority, Yanko?
Yeah. I mean, they are looking for at least Zeus and skullz. They'll be staying in Belgrade.
Twist has a place in Malta already.
Yeah, and I think also they're looking, at least from the talks, like the apartment should be big enough so that an extra guy can come in every now and then, which would probably be NAF.
Although he's got a place to stay in Europe.
Yeah,
as well.
so I guess it's depending on, and also I mean that just tells you because Liquid has their own facility in Utrecht.
Yeah.
So for boot camps, of course they would go there. But this tells you that outside of boot camps and tournaments, online when it comes to online practice, they're most likely just be doing it from Europe as well, which is pretty much what you have to do, really.
I was actually so surprised when the skullz announcement came out, and maybe this is like the America's bias to it, but I was surprised at how many comments I was seeing of people who like didn't even know who skullz was or didn't even know anything about skullz. And like, granted, he hasn't played too much international competition.
Pain was pretty good, man.
Yeah,
I thought Pain was fun to watch.
I did too. I was kind of sad when that team broke up. I was even more sad when skullz and Biggie Zera just sat on that bench, that roster, just languishing for like 5 months. But I mean, the guy did put up like a 2.05 rating at the America's RMR for Paris. Like that's crazy. Like across the entire event. Like,
he's definitely the biggest risk on the team, right? Like he's only 21. He's the biggest risk to then be playing that proper tier 1 Counter-Strike, but there are positive signs. So like if they were hoping from top to bottom this team had every big name under the sun, like for example, if they were able to get Quesarado away from Furia, then yeah, okay. Like this team immediately, like this is a blockbuster roster out the gates. But for skullz, I don't think it's that big of a risk. It's not anywhere near as big of a risk as a Rainwaker, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's nowhere close. I think it would be like obviously Quesarado at this point is the better player, no doubt about it. But I think there is a world in which it would be a little bit more difficult if he were on the roster because you get into a problem where you have too many sort of big names where you don't want a guy like Quesarado to take all the bitch spots or to just have to take a step back all the time. You want to create like stuff for him as well. But then you have NAF too, you have Twist. You see where I'm going with this? So with someone like skullz, it's kind of easier to sort of put him in that role and say, hey, you're mostly going to be doing the dirty work and whatnot and having to set other people up. Obviously in today's CS, it's not like, shit is situational and it depends on what goes on in the round and you'll have to do different things, of course. But just in general, even with the voices on the team and whatnot, to have someone who's just going to be kind of doing his job, right? And that you could hopefully rely on to do that and nothing more than that. I think it might be a good thing for Liquid. Yeah, especially because he's such a sick player, right? It wouldn't apply if you got the fucking Sanji, but someone like skullz, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I mean, you got to take a risk at some point. Like someone, like I think too. Like I've been hitting this stump for a while, and there's no real evidence to back it up.
To the wood.
Like, it's time to like you need to take some risks on younger players. Like you have to be able to, especially going into CS2. I think like the younger, more experienced players are so much more malleable, and I think you have to have like one, maybe two of them. And you see so many top teams over the years have been having success taking those kinds of risks and taking the time to develop young talent. And some teams have been like allergic to the concept, and I think they're the ones a la a G2 that are going to struggle with some of their roster picks because they haven't made that transition yet to going after younger and more inexperienced players that you can build up. And I think the inability to build up young talent is long-term going to be such an issue for orgs if they're not able to bring new players in and not able to train them up. And every time you want a roster change, you've got to go for an experienced player who's going to have a buyout, who's going to demand a higher salary. I think there's so many negatives to it in the long term. So I think being willing to go after like younger talent that like that has shown potential and might be unproven on the world stage. If you're not willing to do that, you're gonna have some real obstacles, and you're not gonna have as many like doors open to you down the road when you want to make a roster change.
Yeah, that's true. I was just looking right now. I'm going through the ages of a lot of the players on this team, right? Twist is the only one, as of when we're recording this, it probably will come out once this is out, to join the team, right? He's 24. Naf's 26.
It'd be funny if he didn't, though. It'd be funny if the announcement was like someone else. Like after this whole episode was recorded, if Twist is just like, "Yep, I'm joining," I don't know, Cloud9. That great.
Yeah, and he's been learning Russian the whole time. He's ready to go. Yakinda 24, skullz is 21, so he is the youngest. He's the baby of the team. So yeah, with all those eight, like they're
Naf is 26. I mean, for how long Naf and Twist have been around, they're still pretty fucking young.
Yeah, Twist, but that's where you want. That's where you want those two. Well, that's where you want like and Yakinda as well. Like this is kind of like the you're gonna get some of their best years out of them now, right? This like 24 to 28 type of range. Katie, obviously on a little bit of the older end there. It's gonna be the dynamic is something that I'm gonna be curious to see how that evolves, because you've got some larger than life type personalities. I would love to get the Yakinda back that was happy to like. I know that Yanko says there's a fine line between cockiness and
confidence and arrogance.
And that's the one. I brought cockiness into this. But I liked it when Yakinda spoke a little bit more of his mind. There's been some times I've gone to interview him or do like the lobby stuff at events, and he's been a bit more timid. Maybe he's just been tired and hasn't won. But I thought maybe he was feeling a bit more neutered. So the stuff that he was saying wasn't used against him or whatnot. But I just think they've got some big personalities over there, and it'd be interesting to see how it gels, because it could go really, really well. Like it could be like a bit like the Bash Bros and the bumping chest and getting loud and sick, or it could be the opposite. Where it's a bit, it breeds a bit of, I don't even know what type of word I'd be looking for here, but
disorganization, perhaps, like the roles not lining up as much as they would like them to, like everyone seeing a little disjointed.
Yeah, disjointed's nice. I like that one. That one kind of fits the bill quite well. But yeah, I think I'm really excited to see how this team functions. It's what we were hoping, or what I guess like some people were hoping with a lot of these conversations around super teams. This is almost one of them. I think that one of the questions is like, where's the punch coming from? I think maybe it feels like it lacks quote unquote star power, because I've seen some threads on the dirt sheets of HLTV of people talk about, well, is Twist really a star player? Like he's support in FaZe. Fucking playing that role in FaZe because you've got like so many other players who are fantastic around him, and he was playing that role extremely well, being extremely selfless, and then still having massive impact rounds in massive games to turn them. Like I think Twist can do anything.
Well, also, I mean, like that team, I mean, had, I guess, quote unquote star players, but like also they had like interchangeable, like, like different events and different games were different players. Like Rops would pop off, Rain would pop off, Brokey would have a game here and there, Twist would have like a consistent or a good game. Like when you can spread it out, that workload, and you don't have to rely on one star player to like get his 25 kills every game, and you can kind of pass the ball between them. You have a similar thing here with Liquid. Obviously, like Cadian can have a game here and there. We know Twist can. We've seen Naf do it, although role-wise, I imagine he'll take a little bit of a hit in terms of his ability to have that impact. But, you have Yakinda can take over the game, as we've seen a number of times. So you have a similar kind of spread responsibility of someone is going to be having a good game on this team. And then all depending on how they decide to actually organize this squad and organize how they want to play the game, who knows? Like someone can become consistent. But I do think it's a fair question to say, can Twist Twist be like the guy for the team. I don't think they need him to, but I think I think Twist sometimes, like, he's got the skills. I think sometimes he lacks like the attitude to just take over a game, to like influence it, you know? Like that's the only thing I would say. But obviously the capability is very much there.
I think first there's a couple of things with all this. First of all, the way you can look at it as well, talking about this Liquid roster, is do we think this Liquid roster is better than the old Heroic roster?
Oh,
like the players outside of KD and pound for pound, are they better than the players he had on Heroic?
Yes,
I think yes as well, right? So if that was the conversation, was their floor is high but their ceiling isn't as high, their ceiling should be higher here because of better players. So the expectations should be that they can win some of the trophies that Heroic struggled with, right? Like maybe and also the second thing for me as well is, can Kinder just be a fucking player and occasionally chime in every now and then? Because if he can do that, he can be a pretty sick just guy playing CS and shooting people in the head.
Yeah, we've seen it before.
And not taking too much responsibility on his shoulders and just kind of more doing what he's told and focusing on executing what the call is rather than trying to be the smartest guy on the server every single time. If he can do that, I think that would be great for Liquid. So that's one of the sort of potential issues. The second one is, can Kaden have enough impact on the op? That's always been sort of a knock on him when it came to Heroic, right? You look at, there's Zaibu here, Simple there, Monesi, Sampayas, whoever, Shiro, right? And then you have Kaden on Heroic. So, and they still had great results, better than some of the teams that I named. So can he do it on a high enough level so that it's not a liability for his team? We'll have to see. I think yes, to be honest, like with how the meta is going on today. And another thing that I don't kind of like is like this thing where, a player taking over games and stuff. It's like the thing that makes certain players different. First of all, it depends on which spots you play, obviously, right? That's why we talk about Mirage connector play. It's like because you see action in every round that's not a B rush, a B execute, a B pop, right? Because if they go A, you're there. If they are doing default on mid, you're there. So the thing comes a little bit to play style in a sense of that you're a guy who's going to be asking for flashes to check stuff, that you're going to be active on the map, proactive, and search for these duels, search for information, search for fights. And that's going to allow you more often than not to have more impact, because either you'll have contact and you'll be able to get some kills, or just you'll get information for your team, which then you'll be able to outposition your opponent, right? But some of the times you can't really control what happens, right? Like if right, so it's like to expect some guy to, it's not easy to consistently have good games simply because of that fact. If you look at it, you look at last 10 Mirage games for whatever, someone like Ima, and it will be 10 different situations that he was in, and then one game he would have 5 kills and it would be like, this guy sucks. Next game he would have 25 kills. Oh, it's great. But I think, we need some sort of fucking advanced stat, like expected kills or some shit like that. Like we have in, expected goals and expected like true shooting percentage in basketball, all that shit. Because it's like, how many kills did he fail to get that he should have gotten? Right, and you can't know that now unless you watch the whole game yourself, which is also difficult because of fucking demos. But you see where I'm going with this. It's like sometimes like the numbers and stuff depends also on how the game goes. And sure, the point can be made that maybe Twist isn't a guy that just as a player is as proactive as some of the other guys who are constantly looking for this information. Sometimes he is pretty fine to let the game come to him, which is also isn't a bad thing. That's just sort of different style of players that we have. But I think Liquid as a whole, they don't have like a problem with that. And that has, over the past couple of years, so much of it has become a team thing where it's taking out of your hands. JKS probably knows best.
I think when we look at some of the stuff you're talking about there, Yanko, with stats and whatnot, right? I think unless someone's dropping 30 or someone has 2 kills, right? Like those are the extremes of where you look at it and go, okay, well, this person's either fucking amazing and is just owning everybody, or they're clearly not doing their job, right? Like those are where you can actually use it quite well. But if we're talking about the difference of 4 or 5 different frags throughout the course of a game, then that's could be okay. So how many of those were ecos? Like we know fucking players, we know how they feel about the fucking eco hunters. Every time those Glocks or those P250s that are unarmored, as soon as they know there's a couple of players, start getting a little bit more ravenous, right? They're starting to get a little bit more horny,
foaming at the
start
mouth.
perking up a bit, right? And then you've got like kills that are high impact kills compared to just like a frag on a guy who's already low or some shit, right? There's so many different factors that go into all of this stuff. So that's where the numbers can sometimes be a little bit misleading. And yeah, of course, that's the point of watching these matches. But look, you mentioned JKS. You've activated my trap card, Yanko. I wanted to pivot for a second. Maybe we can come back to Liquid. But look, I've got a bit of today. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm all good. Like, I'm baffled. I'm just baffled by expectations lately. I don't know what they are, what they're based on, why people fucking have them. I'm getting a little bit irked. Because it's like back in my day, back in the boomer day, back in the days that we remember, so none of this stuff would ever have been taken seriously, not even with a grain of fucking salt. So first things first, let me get this out the way. So obviously last episode I said some things, I mentioned some JKS stuff and all this, that, and the other, and it's fucking a million headlines. Why is every man and his fucking dog coming after it like it was Nico? Right. And second of all, at no point did I say it was even a problem that they replaced him. It was just a problem in the way that they replaced him and management not talking to him. That was it. That's the issue. That's the only issue I had. Don't have any issue with them replacing him. Go nuts. Replace whoever the fuck you want. I don't give a fuck. Right. But the qualm is I'm reading every thread, every this, Nico, this Nico. What the fuck is going on with these people? Do they actually think that Nico is the puppet master? And this is what I came to. This is the conclusion I came to. Nico is a guy who gets to live this fucking awesome life, gets paid shitload of money, is fucking amazing at Counter-Strike, has a smoke show of a girlfriend. They're just all they want to just be pissed off at the guy. They want a reason to dislike the guy. They want a reason to not like him, right? And they're manufacturing this reason that he's the fucking bad guy in this problem. And then now that they're not performing well in some online cup where they're clearly trying to bring a new fucking map into their map pool by playing Overpass, a map that they haven't played in years, and they've just brought Nexa back in to now play, not be an in-game leader and be a player for the team. People are using that as condemnation and even more to pile onto G2.
And they know the coach is leaving in like a month.
Yeah, Swanee's out, so there has to be some new coach coming into the mix here as well. So there's a lot of factors changing, and sure, losing in some of the fashion that they're losing these games, and Hooksy not getting any kills. Some of these factors, I will not argue, right? I won't say, this is acceptable for a team of the caliber of G2. But in what point in history of Counter-Strike? It's the same point, Jason, that I was making last time round with you going to bat, and when these people out there, yeah, it's the same shit. What are people doing, man?
I don't know why.
What's going on?
Online Counter-Strike has started to factor in so much into people's brainstems, but stop doing it, please, for the love of all that is holy. We're trying to help you guys here. Stop paying attention to it's fun to watch, have a good time, enjoy the results. There's going to be some upsets, but it's never been an indicator of it's never been like a telltale sign of long-term Counter-Strike performance on LAN at events.
The one thing it can be good for is seeing what teams are working on. For example, right?
Yeah.
Like what they're trying to change.
Such as
maybe
Overpass.
They change.
Such as bringing in a new map.
Bringing in a new map. For example, I remember distinctly last year before Cologne, FaZe played in this Rubat Cup online, right? Which the one thing about these online cups, now they have, some of them have a good chunk of change, right? So maybe teams are a little bit more motivated to win in them. But FaZe was picking Overpass.
Yeah, Cloud9 won 400 grand in 2 events, I remember, earlier in the year.
Yeah, they did it 2 weeks.
And FaZe was picking Overpass time and time again or leaving it in. And they played 5 or 6 Overpasses, which was their least played map and probably their weakest map at the time. And then they go to Cologne, and when teams picked it to punish against them, they win a couple of close Overpass games. Which is fair to say that probably playing it in that online cup helped them sort of get some reps in and figure out what they need to change for the actually important games at Cologne, and they ended up lifting the trophy in the end. So stuff like that does make it useful, but in terms of results, yeah, I wouldn't look too much into it. The G2 did a great thing by playing it because they haven't played unofficially in 6 weeks, since Sydney. That was their last official.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to go from there
something.
to World Finals and just play with Nex immediately. I think they had to play something online. This came in good. And, I don't think even sure, it's like not a fucking great look if they lose to Guild, Eagles, and Aurora, especially when they get slammed by Aurora. Like that's I think it's the manner in which they lost some of the games. But yeah, in the end, I wouldn't take too much away from it, right?
And
look, I don't want to say that. You go, Jason.
I was going to say, it's not to say that G2 is going to be some like world beater and look incredible coming World Finals. It's just that there's no point in overreacting to online results. There never has been any real point or credibility to that in the past. So why would we do it now? I think honestly, it's just a fun situation to meme on because replacing JKS with Nexa was so unexpected and feels so weird. I think people just have fun being like, pointing at the results and laughing. To be honest with you,
but then there's the other side of the spectrum where people are like, first of all, I'm reading both sides of it. Whereas like, no, JKS is overrated. He fucking sucks. Like there's no that's not true. And then the other side of things I'm reading is JKS carried G2 is the only reason they won. That's also not true. Like, why don't we just exist in the middle ground? Justin was a very good anchor for the team. He would always get the kills that he needed to get when they came his way. He would have some impactful clutches within big matches, and when they played stage matches, he was a good stage player. Okay, there you go. That's
I'm not gonna lie. I was watching the Aurora Ancient game though, and they were getting just steamrolled at the A bomb site like 4 rounds in a row, and I was like, man, I think they could probably use an anchor. They could probably use a bomb site anchor here at this A bomb site here on Ancient.
Yeah,
probably. Well, with the other thing that I was just going to say before when we all started talking over each other, so apologies to all our listeners for that. Sometimes things are going to happen when I'm on 360 ping. But I was going to say that, and I'm not calling Aurora and Guild onliners. I want to make that clear. But they are two teams who do 90% of their competitions online. They know very much what it's like to play in that environment, whereas the guys on G2 are the opposite. They play 10% of their matches online, and oh shit, Jason's being robbed. The dogs are arcing up. There's someone coming into their house right now. Jason, I'll call the cops.
Boy.
I'll call the cops. 911. What's going on? Jason, please. Save the baby. Jade.
Fire in the hole.
Are you okay?
Let me mute really quick. You guys go on.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Anyway, so I was calling teams online if people. No, I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, also we know that anytime
that.
you face a team like G2 and so on, you're extra motivated, right? Because they are maybe they aren't even one of the best teams in the world right now, but they have some of the best players in the world. Someone like Deco going up against Monesi obviously is going to want to have a great game, right? Both Russian oppers and whatnot. It's just a big scalp to take, really. So. Yeah, none of this, though, excuses like what the fuck is G2 doing with their roster? Like, I still can't really, I still can't wrap my head around this whole Nexa thing. Like, even if it is, which would also be shit, just a way for like have a replacement for Cooksey down the line. Like, I don't think that's a good replacement, just straight up. I don't think so. I don't really see a lot of value in bringing him in, but. Especially for a team, like G2 is a team that I don't even, maybe not even, like I didn't even like see too much in like the JKS replacement, but they're like one change, one something away from being number one. This is a team that won Cologne and Katowice this year, right? And you saw the Cadian interview where he's saying, well, yeah, we were number one for a long time, but I don't want to be like the number one team in the world. I want to be a team that's won the Major, Katowice, Cologne, right? I want to have those trophies. Like, that's what everyone plays for, not being number two all the time or whatever, being high in the rankings. So Swanee stepping down, I really understand it, to be honest. Like, when you look at it, he sort of just got promoted while they were probably looking for a long-term option that they got on that good run. The team meshed well. They found like a good atmosphere. They created a good atmosphere. And then it's like, why the fuck would we change this? But I think at different times, handling a team that's aiming to be the best in the world and win championships, and you being the coach of that's a completely different environment and a vibe. First, then being a coach of a like tier 2 team or a team that doesn't have like that high aspirations, and especially due to just being an analyst, right? He brings a lot of other shit that has nothing to do with like in-game stuff in CS, which was your main focus the whole time. And the also not necessarily the media, but the fans, all of that stuff, all the noise of social media, it can become like overwhelming, definitely. So for him, that he just kind of said, hey, I'm good, we had a great run, but I'm not really enjoying this anymore, and I want to step down and do something else. Good for him, man, because that job can be incredibly draining, stressful, all of that stuff. So at least G2, they have already a coach like lined up. Yeah.
Oh, they do?
I just,
can't say it. He's got to keep his lips zipped. Yeah, I think the next, I'm with you, Nico. The next thing for me is still like a head scratcher. Like I still don't understand the move. And this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, was saying like, you have to be willing to take kind of a risk on a year. I don't understand why they wouldn't go into the later stages of this year and just say, we've got one more event. If you wanted to go crazy, you wanted to stick in the Balkans, because that whole storyline, for whatever reason, has picked up steam that Nico wants to turn this team into a Balkan team, which is crazy. Let's just say,
it's not insane.
Like, couldn't you just pick up Vladen, who stood in for one event? Like, just say, like, we're gonna play with him for like
put him on a trial.
We're gonna practice with him. Yeah, and like, we're not gonna sign any long-term deals until we have a little bit more experience and know where we want to go with it. But we're gonna pick up this guy and just see how he plays for the next month and a half. He had a good showing at CAC with Ents, and we're just going to give him a shot, and then let's go that route and see what he's going to give you. Like, see what the young guy's going to put up there, because we know what Nex is going to give you. We already know kind of where Nex's peak is in his career, what kind of style of play he wants. It hasn't worked out once previously before. That's where I scratch my head.
Like, obviously, HooXi is a liability in that department. Depends how often, right? You can't bring another guy who can be a liability in that department. You can't expect Nico, Monesi, and Hunter to make up for two guys. Kind of.
It's not 2017.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of. And another problem is, like, at no point was it said that Nexa is a stand-in or on trial or anything like that. But if you you have to see in Katowice this team working out, right? Because at that point you had this online cup, you had Blast World Finals, then you have the player break, you have the Blast groups again before Katowice, so another like sort of LAN test phase, and then in Katowice you need to show something. Because the major is right around the corner. I don't know if they can even like make changes after Kato for the major, which would again be like a really fucking shitty situation, because there's not a lot of time from when Katowice ends to when the RMR starts. I don't know where the roster lock is, all this shit. So it's like, did you really just, if you're G2 and you just said, this is our lineup for the next major, bro, shame on you. As Željko Obradović would say, shame on you. You know, like, how, really? This is the best you could come up with in fucking November? You know, like, still 5 months.
When everyone's changing roster?
Yeah, it's like, you know, like, you could fucking buy someone out. I don't know, like, get someone better than Nexa if you're going to leave HooXi. Yeah. Or bring Nexa and another fragger if you're not really liking HooXi, right? Just JKS for Nexa. This is the change that's going to... And getting some other coach instead of Swanee. This is going to be enough for you to take... to make up for what you were missing. I'm not so sure.
Well, and let's I'll build on that point even a little bit too. Is like, yeah, you have Nexa now and you need to find a new coach for the next year. But let's just say you go to the World Finals and you struggle. Let's say you go to Blast Groups and you struggle. Let's go, and then you're going into Katowice, and again, without knowing when the roster lock is. Are you feeling pressure that you need to make another roster change, like heading into Katowice? Though. But are you feeling it? Like, you're like, oh, this roster change, we kind of suck. Like, we need to change one more piece. And then you're sitting out there and you're like, do we drop Nexa, who we just picked up, or do we drop HooXi and get a new in-game leader? And then you're kind of mulling over the benefits, the cost benefit of going into the Katowice and the major with a brand new IGL. Like, there could be a rockier road right around the corner for this G2 team if this doesn't work out like immediately.
It could. There's another thing that I find baffling with conversations I see, though, is people trying to argue that Nexa is as good of a player as JKS. I'm like, where the fuck?
No.
Like, what are you? What? Like, look, again, I don't give a fuck about the players, but it's fine. Just even if I just went mechanically, Nexa isn't even close. Like, it's not even a conversation that should happen in this universe. Like, it's not even a conversation. What is going on with people? But look, I don't know if the mood over in the camp, like with some of the other members in the team, is slightly soured, right? And this decision doesn't perk things up. It puts all the things that you two are pointing out with the future. That just puts them more front and center. And even if they are going to go, okay, yeah, well, this is early, and the fact that they're trying to change the map pool as well means that they are looking to make some changes that are obviously not just personnel changes. They're looking, okay, because I know that Hooksy wanted to play Overpass for a while, but a lot of the rest of the team didn't want to play Overpass, right? And now they're playing Overpass. Okay, so what yeah, I don't know, man. Like it's a head scratcher for sure.
JK has confirmed Overpass,
and I don't think. He is actually, but
it's so ridiculous. If that's like the reason he got through. If you want to play Overpass, you need to remove me. All right.
Yeah, it's in my contract. I don't fucking play Overpass.
Right. I guess
that was the ultimatum.
That was the hill he died on.
That wouldn't be too bad. But look, I started all of this because I was talking about expectations, and then I got deep into this one here. But that was to do with online Counter-Strike. But then I also wanted to talk about the expectations that people have of this fucking BETBOOM tournament. And I'm reading stuff about competitive integrity, and like people talking about there's like the little so they're doing the update thing, right? And there's one here. Where's the headline? Non-existent integrity. And then there's a little bit further up where they're interviewing like different like Norbert, and then there's like a conversation with who's this with? It was Dastan. Dastan. The rules at BETBOOM are not as strict as ESL or Blast. Well, of course not. This is another thing that just fucking irks me to no end. Are people that fucking deluded that they think events that are not ESL or Blast, the people that run the majority of the calendar year round, have all of these protocols in place, have the same people that work on all of these events, have actually been the ones who have defined the way that modern Tier 1 Counter-Strike have been played in the rulebooks that Valve then copy the rules from and then put into their own fucking majors? Are people that deluded to think some gambling event, which is literally the namesake of one of the teams in it, is going to be as above board or run without any issues, without any tech problems, with the admins who know what the fuck they're doing? Are we that fucked in the head that we think that any man who just goes, I want to run a Counter-Strike event, can run it to the highest caliber? Are we that fucking stupid? Like, because if that's the case, then mate, I don't know what we're doing. Because the three of us may as well try and put on a fucking Counter-Strike tournament if people are just going to assume out the gates it's going to be as good as the two industry leaders we have in Counter-Strike for running events.
Hey, man.
And then the conversation about the integrity thing, man. Well, you've got a LAN cafe, so that might actually help. But the integrity thing, it's like, hey, okay, so guys, you're being invited to an event. It's called BETBOOM such and such, and it's in Dubai. And the BETBOOM
and
team
it's run
also
by a
going to be
gambling
there.
website.
But the team who are actually sponsored by this company, probably owned by this company, I don't actually know the details, they're also going to be competing here. And then teams go, okay, yeah, we'll come. And then they get there and then they're complaining about like integrity and the team being treated better and this. Are you guys fucking stupid? Like, what are you saying? Well, you think there's some implicit thing here that's just going to be, okay, yeah, no, everything's fine, you already knew, you signed up to go to the event. Did you not ask what other teams were attending? Did you not know what the scenario was going to, I'm not saying there's any competitive integrity stuff being broken. I don't know. I'm not fucking there. I'm not a man on the ground. I have no idea what's going on. But like, if the idea of you signing up for that comes with the idea that, no, everything's going to be fine, you're just an idiot. Like you have to assume that there's going to be, room for this in the world, right? When I get on an airplane, I think, well, there's a chance this airplane could crash. Is it actually going to crash? No, probably not. But I think it could happen. It's in the realms of possibility. It's a fucking flying tin can in the sky. It could crash.
With, Qantas, it's probably not. But if you're going Jetstar, baby, oof. That's
Or I mean, I think the
references on point, but nice.
I think the appropriate analogy would be if a random gambling website opened up an airline and had an airplane to fly you to directly to their fucking casino. Would you think that would you take the risk on that one? Who's just a brand new airline?
The house always wins, Jason.
Yeah. That one wasn't as well structured as it was in my head before I said it out loud.
Yeah, I think that just also tells you how spoiled these teams and players have become, right? Like that's how much Blast and ESL and PGL
and fans and Counter-Strike fans,
have raised the bar for these teams. Where now they expect that from everyone. I think they forgot, how it was before when you had all these different TOs and you want to play in these tournaments. Then you had different rule sets from tournament to tournament and whatnot. Now they're surprised. Sure, it is the norm at ESL and Blast that you don't have access to the internet. You have to give them your Spotify playlist beforehand so they can download or whatever, and only a couple of something is only the Valve servers are whitelisted or something like that. The game servers are whitelisted. You don't have internet connection when you sit at the PC at a LAN tournament, right? But that's something that probably someone at BETBOOM didn't really realize, understand, or think about. Not because of malicious intent to send Steam messages to BETBOOM players like, hey, they're going B. Like, oh, that's
we've lost Chatty.
Yeah, but we have these pops in and out. So, like, that's just them not really being on the same level as people who've done this for years and years.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you, and I think like too that is like these. It's like spoiled expectations that every event is going to be like this high-powered professional experience that everything is going to be figured out and everything's going to run smoothly. Like it's just not the case. And I think the Counter-Strike scene has come to expect that every event is going to be at the scale of one of the IEMs, of like a Cologne or Dallas, that you're going to be well organized. And it's just not the case. A lot of these operators don't have that experience. Welcome back, Chatty. Do we need to re-record? Did you keep it going?
No, we're good. We're good. It was just TeamSpeak.
Beautiful.
It was just my 5G internet. I just sat quietly here, looking at Audacity, going, "I'll be back soon."
I'll be back, my man. Yeah, I think like because I know like when I went to that Fragacago event here in the States over the weekend. I stopped in for a day and I was talking to the guy who runs it, and he was telling me like they caught a lot of flack for like not having like a proper broadcast with like top tier 1 like casters brought in, for the event. And it was like, bro, this is an event just run by like 3 people who put on this 32 team event where they're just trying to like they don't have the resources to put on an event of like that scale and that caliber. It's just not there. And like while BETBOOM may have, or I mean definitely has the resources for it, not the experience to be able to put all these things together. So I know when I saw this event pop up, I was like, this one's gonna be fucking scuffed. This is gonna be rough old school shit.
It doesn't even get a thread on the front page of Reddit. Right, like there's no like a tournament thread there that's being updated, which is something that they tend to do. The thing is like for people who aren't watching the tournament, this is just an advertisement for their betting website. The casters literally every 3 rounds have to mention something to do with the betting sponsor or CS Money, one of the two. Literally every 3 rounds. Like I'm not even joking. Go and watch it. Like, and I'm not saying that there's, like that's this, but this is the gig. This is what this event is. And for people to think that everything's going to be like this standardized thing, this is at the end of the day, right? For the company BETBOOM, this is advertisement. That's what this is for them. They are using Counter-Strike as a vessel to advertise their product. Tool. Yeah. And then we also have to think about this like at Counter-Strike like across the board. Okay, so different events, the majors, obviously, that's our version of like the World Cup, right? That's the biggest event. It's meant to bring the teams from all over the world together to compete to see who is the absolute best. That is literally the pinnacle of our circuit. And then we have other big events that go on throughout the year, but different events come with different things. Like some events need, when PGL run the majors, they don't have anywhere near as many sponsor obligations as what happens when you see like a Blast or an ESL because of all the different things that they're signed up to. When you watch like a Blast event, they have those it's more than an L frame, right? It takes up like a decent portion of the screen with their full screen sponsors. Yeah. ESL have the same, like not that same kind of framing, but they bring up sponsors and stuff throughout because they have different obligations that they need to oblige to. And different TOs have obviously different limitations or promises that they've made to people throughout. And you're going to get different experiences with all these things. Well, this is just a gambling website who have put on a Counter-Strike event and invited teams, and the first prize is what? 300 grand? And they've gone, here you go, you want to come to our... No, the full prize pool is 300 grand. It's 180 first prize. Oh, shit. If you come 5th, 6th, or 7th, 8th, you get nothing. Yep. Okay, fuck it, I'm in. This is what we need. We need more of this.
We talked yourself into it.
Yeah, we're back in.
I think too, like we've kind of approached it from the outside angle, but like from the player perspective as well, an event like this, like yes, you go into every event wanting to win. Obviously, there's a payday there too, which would be nice if you to get the extra cash if you win or place well. But I mean, for the most part, this is one of those events where teams are like, in the grand scheme of things, this doesn't mean a whole lot. Like no one's going to be super heartbroken when they lose this event. This is about kind of flexing and testing where you're at as a team and what you need to work on and what you need to think about next moving forward as the year comes to a close, as you start gearing up for the major cycle come January. This is very much like a test balloon.
You're getting official reps in.
Yeah, and you're kind of outlining the path forward for the team for the next 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, I think though for some teams, for example, we have a game today where teams are in two very different stages, which is Astralis versus Furia. We saw the first sort of glimpses of this new Astralis lineup with Stone and Yabi playing against VP, and it was, a 2-1 series, but we also saw the interview from Castle on HLTV. They only had a couple of days to practice. It's going to take a while for them to figure everything out, but also we got sort of the reasoning, which we were speculating on the podcast, like why they kept Stair over, Buzz, for example. One of the reasons was there was a lot of role overlap between Yabi and Buzz, but also it was the potential of Stair, like that he was talking about, that he sees it a lot in practice, and it's just sort of a matter of time, they're hoping, before it translates on the server. And, this Astralis lineup, if they do figure it out, they can be a contender team for sure.
I think so. I think there's enough firepower on this roster, right? But it's just about how long it's going to take to get them online. Obviously, not a very good first showing that they had, but that's the thing. The whole reason we've gone down this rabbit hole is me talking about expectation. I don't have a huge expectation for a team. You've got 2 players coming in. Now you're going to have to work out how you want to use them. They've been playing in this heroic system for a very long period of time now. Well, maybe not Yabi, but Stown for sure. And you're just expecting them to play at full capacity. Like, this isn't a finished project. This is the beginning of the project.
No matter what we heard from their camp, like, the expectations here for Furia should be to win the tournament. No, they just came from winning a tournament in Finland. Sure. Art back as the in-game leader. Who could have seen that one coming? When Fallen joined the team, it was Gary still there and Art still there. I wonder if there was anyone who thought, hey, this is really not going to work out great for Furia, because from the first interviews, we're going to implement a little bit of their old style, a little bit of the new style. It's like, that's not going to be able to work out. You brought a guy in order to change your style, so just do that. And obviously not really able to do that with some of the old parts of that philosophy still on the team. Doesn't work out. They don't have really any results to speak for. Now we're going to change back to Art as the in-game leader. It's like, really?
And then they want to.
This is your long-term strategy now. Fallen is just going to be an AWPer, and Art is going to be the in-game leader. That's what you're going to play. And yes, they go on and they win a tournament where they beat, Mouse, who was
dead.
They just got told that they're losing their star player after they're the number 2 ranked team in the world. They beat Complexity in a best of 1, and they beat Havu and Apex. Listen, a tournament win is a tournament win. And for someone like, as I was talking about, Serato doesn't know how it feels like to lift a trophy on LAN, in front of a crowd. Well, he's experienced it now. Only took him 5.5 years since he joined that main Furia team, but that's something there. And there's always something that can happen to a team once they lift a trophy. But the Furia went on to this BETBOOM tournament, just got trounced by Spirit 2-0 in their first game, and now have to play Astralis. So if they end up losing this series, what are we supposed to make of this team?
Well, yeah, it's pretty in flux, right? But look, I want to say this. About their loss to Spirit. Yeah, no one besides Virtus Pro are beating Donk. Come on, Yanko, man, get on the Donk hype train. We got to be loving. Mate. I can't wait till I get back to a PC and I can actually just sit and like team through some Donk demos and just watch how ape shit this kid is, because it's fucking ridiculous. But no, I get your point. But this is the thing with Counter-Strike at the tail end of this year. For me, it's very difficult to get invested in long-term storylines because all of it is short-term, right? Obviously, it's going to have long-term ramifications as we move into next year. But just with how in flux everything is, I'm not doing fair measurements. I'm measuring brand new teams against teams who are, losing a player or have just added a player, and this team here we know is on the rocks, or this team here is using a stand-in, or this team here has just changed an in-game leader, or this team here has just lost their fucking AWPer.
Fucking, it's been, 6 months that this Furia lineup has been together, and Art comes out and says we're still in the alpha or beta phase. What the fuck have you been doing for 6 months? How long do you need to figure the basic shit out? Like, I really don't get it. Like, if something isn't working, you'll see it sooner. Like when we brought Brocky and Cold in FaZe in 2019, right? We started playing together in October, and by the end of the year, we realized we need to swap Brocky and all of Brocky being put on the op, and all of being on the lurk. And in the meanwhile, we won the Blast Copenhagen. So it's like, like things like that not working out, some of the big things, the roles or whatnot that you can swap around. You don't need 6 fucking months to see it, right? Like you can do that way earlier. So the point being is like that Furia, their aspirations are for years now to like be the best team in the world and like lift some big trophies. That's not going to happen with this lineup.
Yanko's team MIBR. That's what he's saying. He's coming out right here on the podcast. He's saying MIBR.
I fucking am.
That's his Brazilian team.
I fucking am. I am team MIBR. And I fucking hated that Furia won that tournament because otherwise I think MIBR would end up ahead of them in the rankings by the end of the year. I think they'll do better at this tournament than Furia. And that was kind of my prediction. My tweet at the start of the year was Furia, unless they make like a change, they won't be the best Brazilian team by the end of the year. And they did make a change, but not a good change. Basically making a change meant get rid of Art and Gary.
That's what you want. That's what you wanted, 100%. But you didn't get it, Yanko. And I don't think you're going to get it
and Furia fans are not going to get what they want either. You're not going to win the major. You're not going to win Katowice. You're not going to do fuck all. It's going to be the same like it's been so far. You might ruin someone else's chances to win the tournament, like knock out one good team and then lose to the next one. And until you make the change, that's all you're going to get.
Well, make it your Christmas wish, Yanko. Maybe you can get it to come true for 2024, right? After the next major cycle.
I don't care. I don't care about it that much, Like, I don't give a fuck. It's like, it's their problem. I don't like teams being mismanaged. In general, like when I see a team, it's like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, what is this team ever gonna be like? So, and especially when I see talent being wasted, and Keisarato's talent is more or less being wasted.
And he could be on Liquid right now, and they would have paid for him.
Yeah, but it was his choice. It was his choice, so we no longer get to.
Yeah, just like Tabson, he can rot.
You've chosen your jail and enjoy. You'll be getting 3 square bills.
That's fine.
You've chosen death row.
You. Another guy who's chosen success over loyalty, Frozen. Bro, I fucking FaZe. Like, these are the two, I can't remember the 2 roster changes that made so much sense, or like additions that fit so perfectly well, role-wise, all that shit, prior relationships, experience, all that kind of jazz, then Robs to FaZe and Frozen to FaZe. Like, it's actually...
What makes you so high on the Frozen one, just out of curiosity? Because I know that there's some people out there who are questioning how it's all going to work out, and they seem to forget the Mount Sports times.
Yeah, I think fucking individually he's fucking sick. I think he's like... I don't know. This is going to be hard to say, but I think he is a slight upgrade over Twists. I think maybe Twists brings some of the intangibles a little bit more and some of the experience, in a sense of he's won big tournaments, obviously with FaZe and with Liquid. So that's something that Frozen hasn't done to the same extent.
He won 5 events with Kerrigan back in 2019.
Though. Yeah, I know, but that's why it's a slide. But I think like he is like shooting harder than Twists is, at least in the last, I don't know, maybe you can even say this whole year or whatnot. And listen, there's a reason why Twists wanted to leave as well. So it's without a doubt that it should improve sort of team chemistry and whatnot. And I know it was a couple of months ago, after like probably Gamers 8 or something like that, when we were talking about FaZe and saying, all right, if they were to make a change, like who should they get? And then we said Frozen, and I was like, would he even want to leave at this point? Like, because FaZe was like pretty shit at the time, and Mouse was on the way up. It's like, why would he really leave? Like, sure, he could leave for more money if they could pay him more and stuff, like, playing back with Kerrigan. But if you're already beating them and winning, why would you really do that? But in the end, it felt like the draw was really too much to reunite with Robs and Kerrigan.
And I think it makes sense as well when you look at that FaZe team and how good they are. Like the talent is experienced, whereas the talent on Mouse is a little bit more inexperienced. You obviously have a nice streak of events to start CS2 for FaZe. And I imagine a big draw was Frozen getting to play with Kerrigan again. I mean, that Kerrigan came into that Mouse lineup in 2019 and just like jump started Frozen's career. He's talked about it a number of times. I actually don't know if it was ever publicly, but I know I've spoken to him about it at an event. Is, you know, when he stepped into that Mouse team way back when, the first thing he did was like say like, y'all are misusing Frozen. Like this isn't where he should be playing. This isn't the role he should be in on T sides. This is a player that you kind of unleash. You put him in a position to do his own thing and go chase down frags. Like that's what he's fucking hungry for. So Kerrigan made that kind of role swap within the team, and Frozen just skyrocketed, and Malz came along with him, and they won all those trophies at the end of the year. So I think if you're Frozen, that's probably, you know, a fucking core memory of your Counter-Strike experience that you want to get back to. So I imagine playing with Kerrigan is like his favorite thing in the world at the moment.
Probably a little bit.
I think
probably a little bit of that also. Just being, you know, like he was the veteran in Mouse, and probably a lot of responsibility in that department. You're going to a team that is full of veterans, right? I mean, Kerrigan, Rain, Rops, even Brokey at this point. So I think that's also a bit of an easier environment to play in.
Well, for me, it felt like you could have had the Twist, Brokey, and Rops trio stay together, you know, for a long period of time, even when Kerrigan and Rain would eventually hang up the mice, right? Which could be, who the fuck knows at this point. They're going to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But that trio right there was young, and it felt like they, you know, got along and stuff, and they could. We're now Frozen. He can just slot right in. You know, he can now be part of that conversation of, you know, in the future, okay, so Kerrigan does, you know, maybe he goes coaching. Maybe Kerrigan becomes the coach of the team, and he has that trio, and then they bring in, you know, a Shuey or somebody to be the in-game leader of the roster. It's like, if you're part of that
fleecing
core,
Mouse, like that's the sole reason of their existence, is to get their best players poached by FaZe.
I think there's just a clause in the contract when these teams sign for Mouse. It's like eventually you will likely get promoted to FaZe. It's just an unofficial academy team that's kind of rocking here. But look, I think Mouse are still in a pretty good position, right? I understand losing Frozen hurts being their best player, but I think that they have, I think Jimmy's going to be something. Like I think that if the
Jimmy's
kid continues, and I think Exertion as well, he's only young, right? The team gives off such a mature vibe. We know that it's a young team, but I think Exertion's only like 18 or 19, something like that. Let me check. 19. He's 19. And I really like talking Counter-Strike with this kid when we've had him on, he came on like some Pro League casts and stuff with us before. And I like the way that he views the game. I think he's a good map control player. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders right there. I think he's a great little piece of this Mouse team. So I don't think it's done for them. I'm curious as to why they've ended up with Brolin standing in for the World Finals, but whatever. Maybe like Yanko, you said before, like you kind of feel that Brolin is still good. You kind of have
I want to believe that, Chad. I really do. The signs haven't really been pointing to it. Yeah, exactly. I feel like, listen, NIP is where careers go to die. So I can't really judge him on, you know, it almost killed fucking Device's career. So I feel like he can't be judged based on his time there. It's just a fucking shit.
And he was in Fnatic before that for 4 years. So it's like those are two of the more, you know, mismanaged, downward trended teams that we've kind of got in CS. Well, maybe NIP definitely mismanaged. Maybe not Fnatic as much, but certainly they haven't been able to put together any kind of competitive team or identity in the past 3 years. Like you're just on squads where you have like no chance of being of improving to a significant degree.
Just a gatekeeper average team. That's all they are. It's the same as Fnatic, the same as OG. They're just going to exist somewhere hovering around the top 20 to top 15. And occasionally they might get it. Like
hope they find a diamond.
What's the draw value of these rosters anymore? Like what are you even getting excited about it being part of over there? Just knowing that you're going to have an organization that doesn't really understand what they're doing. Okay, sick. That's great. Let's keep doing that, shall we? Like what are we talking about? Yeah. Like out of all your choices, if you had the choice between Apex, NIP, Fnatic, or OG, I'd just go to Apex. At least I know that they're, you know, they're picking up players that have something about them. Like Kixon, Susanito, they've shown something. Like, well, sure,
he was the MVP,
amazing, but Apex, Yeah,
of that.
At least they have some players that are doing some stuff. Sense is still on the roster, but was from their like academy team, right? So I don't think that's the final project over at Apex there. But that's the thing. Apex are now in the conversation, a new organization alongside of legendary brands in Counter-Strike like NIP and Fnatic. Like, what are we?
It was actually funny seeing Knock like pop off at this event, at this past event, the way he did with the MVP after being at NIP, and like they let him go for a device, and oh man, there had to have been a certain level of satisfaction for him. But I know me watching it, that's what was running through my head. I was just like, this is funny as hell in my mind.
It was
fun. Yeah.
Also, I just realized, did we fucking... No, we did an episode during fall finals, right? And yeah, it was before, and Vitality won fall finals. So I guess get a player, win a tournament immediately. Mazzy lifting his first trophy.
Yeah, over FaZe, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't win. They didn't win the 4 in a row, or the 4.
You fell into the trap.
Everybody, calm down.
You fell into the trap. They fucking got me, these motherfuckers. I think like Vitality have to be team of the year, considering the different rosters that they've had to deal with. They've won the major
easily.
I think they go down as team of the year. Right? This is our unofficial awards right now. No, but I think they take that crown. And then after that is where it gets a little bit murky in the conversation. It's either G2 or FaZe. It would probably be G2, winning Katowice or in Cologne. But I think for Vitality, like they're in a really good position. I think the Flamesy pickup is nice. I think obviously Spinks is great. And Zywo, there you go, bang. If Mezzy added to this team, he didn't look... I watched some of like that Vertigo game, for example. Things didn't go too well for him. But look, all in all, it was... No, I swear we did do the episode... after.
No, we did it like last Tuesday. When did the tournament end?
I swear
last Sunday.
Yeah, it was this Sunday, no?
Yeah.
We did?
No.
No, this Sunday was when Alyssa Masters ended.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right.
Yeah, so we did do it.
Yeah, man. All right. Cool. We'll just edit this out, or we'll just leave it in.
No. We're leaving this bad boy in. We do it
never
live.
really know,
how it goes.
what's going to happen.
No, we got no idea half the time. No, I don't know, man. I'm looking at...
I was just going to say for like Mouse, do they just go out and get JDC back now and just get Academy team roster?
Well, that's the thing. I'm surprised that they didn't get somebody from the Mouse NXT roster to stand in, because they're usually so good at grabbing somebody from down there to fill the void. And I'm not saying permanently. I'm just temporarily. But interestingly
maybe
enough,
Brolin was free.
Maybe. Yeah.
How can he be more free than their academy player, Jason? What the fuck, bro?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're gonna get a player, go for the experienced one that has an upside that you might be thinking about bringing in. Like maybe this is his tryout, and he's been benched for a while, so maybe NIP didn't ask for any money to loan him over. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have to imagine NIP just wants to get him off the fucking books. I know I'm making a very generous assumption considering the organization, but I'm assuming NIP is probably paying him like a certain percentage of his salary to be benched, as most contracts would have. Although again, that's a big assumption. But at that point, NIP is just like, we just want to get him off the books, so let's loan him out, let's let him use him, let's hope they want to take him after the fact, and we'll figure it out from there. But I mean, why wouldn't you want to go for someone like Brolin, who's still got that potential, as we've all just kind of said, that we all want to believe that he can still be a great player. He's got skills. He's got a decent amount of experience playing in top team or tier 1 organizations. And like, why not take him over an academy player who's going to be inexperienced? Or maybe you want to take it the cynical route and be like, the academy team has said, you know what, fuck academy players, they're too inexperienced for us.
Well, I don't. Maybe.
You mean the guys who are on the main team now who came from the academy team? Okay.
Yeah, I see what you say. Yeah, I don't know. Look. Here's the thing. I like you, the two of you, would like to see Brolin bounce back, but do I think that he has the potential to? That no signs have pointed to that being a possibility. He occasionally has a good map, or occasionally had a good map towards the tail end of NIP. But all in all, considering the team and the roster that they had for a period of time, they're right. Obviously, it chopped and changed a little bit, but he was meant to be one of the star players of the roster, wasn't he? Like, at least that was by my understanding. So that means he would have been getting the positions and stuff that he wanted to do, which I don't know if he's going to be getting that on Mouse. I was talking to Shuey the other night on HLTV, confirmed that he was talking about, we're going to change things up, and having Brolin might allow me to call some faster things. Sure, so maybe that might be a little bit more to his playstyle, but it's not like NIP wouldn't have done that, wouldn't have tried to facilitate Brolin. So I don't know what version of Brolin we're going to get, but if we don't get a good performance from him here, he has to go back down to the Swedish local leagues. Like, where else is he going to go? Who's going to pick him up? He will just have to go play.
This is last chance saloon. This is last chance.
Yeah, it is,
saloon
right?
for him. Yeah.
It has to be. You can go back and you can go down and play with an Eyeballers or a Godsend or something like that, and then come back.
Maybe an Apex would, if like, let's say him and Knock know each other, or they play FaZe together, and then Knock is convincing people to give him a chance. Like, we just can't really tell. But it might be a good, over the sense, Brolin. I don't know. Might work out.
Well, what if Heroic go international?
Yeah, what the fuck's gonna happen with them? Like, we were speculating last.
We were
speculating last time around. Maybe Snappy and Saw go to Heroic together. Like, maybe that was happening in the meantime. But then we saw that report from KRL that it's Snappy, Magisk, MHL, Boris, and Longs in Falcons.
Yeah.
Fucking feel for my boy Snappy. Get that back, son. Fuck it.
Well, that's the thing. So for him and Magisk, you're assuming that they're going to get paid being over there, but then at the same time, your career aspirations are going to take a dip until maybe after the major, and then Falcons can make a play for some other names.
Did you see this this like rumored Falcons lineup now that Nico pulled out? Like, what it's going to be in?
That's what we just said.
That's what Yanko just said.
Oh, my bad. I was looking for it.
That's all right, Jason.
No, that's all right.
It's okay. It's early for you. We won't hold it against you. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think it was like, this is like what the roster is supposed to be. And I think then it was like as it goes, like, oh yeah, this is the roster. Well, have you signed these other guys now that you approached me? It's like, well, no, but they've said yes. But are they signed? Well, no, but when you sign, they'll sign too. And then it's something where you can't really, you can't gamble your career on that's actually going to happen, right? So then you have one player pull out, and then when that's public, then maybe some of the other guys that were also in the mix were like, hey, if this guy isn't coming, you told me he's coming, then it makes no sense for me to come either. And Snappy could have been a situation in which he already committed, because the offer was too good to pass up. I mean, I know he has a great relationship with Saw, but shouldn't underestimate getting to work with Zonic either and Lars. So could be a thing where, that's just how it ended up. And then some of these other transfers didn't really come to fruition. And now they're kind of stuck with this roster, at least for the
I'll be honest, though, this is the kind of roster I expected from them when the initial announcement came that Zonic was going to go over there and put together a team. This is about
really
kind of this level is about where I expected it to be, because that's why I was a little bit upset seeing Zonic's tweet about we're going to give everyone a fair shot, we're going to build this team,
called him out
and then
on
all
it,
of a
I
sudden
remember specifically personally.
Yeah, but this is the kind of roster I expected, and I think the whole thing around Nico swirling about going to that team all of a sudden propelled this into a super team. But that super team conversation wasn't the initial conversation that Zonic was having publicly about what he was doing over at this.
Yeah, but then he dumped the whole roster, Jason. He only kept.
I know.
Boros.
I agree with you, and that's why I was upset, and that's why it bothered me, and that's why I was confused.
You're happy with this?
I'm not happy with this,
You're
but it's just what I
anymore.
expected. It's just what I expected originally. And then the expectations were changed when Nico was coming over, and then they failed to secure that. Because once Nico gets announced as going over to Falcons, or is rumored, or was 90% of the way there, then you're starting to say, okay, they have this chance to build a super team. You do kind of have to pursue it if you're Falcons. And then it obviously all changes and goes back to this, and then it turns into a disappointment. So I think the expectations got risen so big, but this is what I expected when he said, I'm going to be trying out some of these players. We're going to be giving them a chance. I expected the initial glimpse of Falcons to not be a finished project, to not be an exciting, project and prospect out of the gate. I expected it to be a process.
Well, as long as your expectations are fucking satisfied, Jason, I guess that's what matters.
Well, what did you expect? Did you expect him to build a super team out of the gate?
No, but I think, listen, all right? This Falcons roster can surprise people. Okay? I'll tell you why, right? Longs, really talented. A bit of a cunt though, you know. One of those guys like that probably thinks he's so much better than everyone else and blah 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 blah, and his teammates are shitting the bed and voices his frustrations maybe a little bit too much. Well, now when you have Daddy Zonic come in and Grandpa Lars and older brother Snappy, you know, you're not gonna fucking open your fucking mouth, are you? You know, you're gonna shut your mouth and do what you're told. That's a fucking 4-time major champion over there, in-game leader of the best team in the world. Yada, yada, yada. You get my spiel. Also, Magisk is there to sort of be the slightly younger, older brother, you know, and giving a bit of a slap when he feels like get him in line, right? So I feel like maybe in that sort of an environment, like when he actually takes like the whole thing seriously and just focuses on kind of playing and doing what he's told, if he's capable of doing that, I think he's a talented player, right? Boros, we all know what he is capable of. And then you have MHL, sort of another one of those, right, Mao's Academy players that, I don't know, here and there, maybe some flashes. But again, with that sort of an in-game leader and coaching staff, perhaps you can get a little bit more out of him. I'm not saying they're going to be a contender team. I'm saying that they might surprise some people. Well, I don't even know what fucking opportunities they're going to get because they're not partnered for shit.
The major, that's it. Just got to play the major.
Just that, yeah. And maybe they'll actually have to play some of this online shit just to get some reps in.
Yeah. This is the thing. It's going to be, it's obviously all going to change come 2025, and we don't have a lot of details of how it's going to change just yet. We know that Valve are going to be more hands-on with how some of these events are selected. We know that that we're going to have more TOs running events, right? Because it's going to be open circuit. All these partnership stuff won't be there. So we are, what is it today? The 7th of December. So we're not that long. We're less than a month away from going into the final year of partner leagues where Blast and ESL have to wind up their agreements. And I'm going to be interested to see if anybody makes any moves within this year to do that, right? Tries to a bit of goodwill over towards Volvo, or, you know, how it all unfolds. But come 2025, when we have a whole new model of approach, I'm just hoping it's not like the Dota DPC stuff, because that was fucking terrible. Like, that was bad for Dota. So I'm hoping that we don't find ourselves in a similar position to that.
That's where you'd also hope, like, because Valve's whole shtick has been like, you know, we run the CS and Dota, you know, games and esports scenes a little bit differently because we like to see what works and what doesn't work. So you'd hope they take the lesson from the DPC as it slowly failed in Dota and don't bring it over to Counter-Strike, right? Yeah, like that would be the whole purpose of their statement.
It would just be insane to me, right? So we know that Blast are moving away from Copenhagen for their fall finals, right? So they've almost disqualified themselves from the conversation of where I'm about to take this. But it would be a shame if Valve don't consider Katowice and Cologne as events that are worthy of the consideration to be part of, like, qualifying for the major come 2025. Like, if they just could actively considering they've been two of the biggest mainstay events that have existed in the calendar since 2014, right? Wouldn't that just be fucking mental?
And both past majors too.
Nah.
I mean, as well.
Right, but that could be possible. That Valve just decide, no, these don't qualify. I don't know why they would, right? But that could very well happen. Whereas if, like I said, if Blast fall final, and it wouldn't be fall final because they couldn't run their circuit like that, it just had to be standalone Blast event in fall. If it was still in that same venue with more teams and stuff, yeah.
I'm confused. Are you theorizing that Valve is going to create like almost like a qualification schedule based off of current events that are run throughout the scene?
To my very basic understanding of the situation, yes.
Wouldn't they just, isn't that the whole point of the regional rankings and how they assign points to teams, is that's kind of the qualification, is you're ranking over the course of a year?
So I don't have enough information. I'm kind of just basing it off of very small bits and bobs that I've heard, and I'm making some broad assumptions here. And this isn't coming from any like point of authority or anything like that. This is just coming from different things I've heard from different people. But it does seem like Valve are going to be where not everybody can just run an event that will be qualifying for the major circuit. as far as I understand.
Yeah, I just like this was our whole like reason of arguing over like the insanity of using prize money as like some kind of a metric, because then all of a sudden all of these gambling events like become like pretty big events to win with their
It's all kicking off right now, by the way, with this BETBOOM thing. The Reddits and the HLTV forums are going to be alight by the time we finish this podcast talking about this shit.
I just clicked on a link on the whole Reddit, and it was players were allowed to get on their phones during tech pauses and stuff like that.
Yeah, again, I want to make this clear from the earlier sentiment that I had in the show. I don't think any of this is okay, but I don't know what people's fucking expectation is with an event like this. Like, what are people actually expecting? Are you expecting it to be run like a top tier ESL or Blast event? Because if you are in the wrong universe, my friend.
Well, it's funny too, because I mean that brings us over like also like the PGL just announced that all the locations for the RMRs
will be regionally run.
Yeah. Obviously, what was it?
Monterrey again.
Monterrey for Americas, Shanghai for Asia, and I'm assuming Romania for Bucharest for Europe.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. It's good that it's Shanghai for Asia, because we know we're going to be there later in the year for the.
And Mongolia was a bit rough last time around.
But Monterrey was a bit rough as well. I saw Zach making some tweets about the situation last time around.
Yeah, it was. I remember after the fact, because I was there, and I remember after the event talking on this podcast about how like, look, these are also like growing pains. Like when we have to go back to the Americas region, and you have to get people experienced at running events of this scale with this kind of professionalism, and there's going to be
Jason, man. Like that has nothing to do with it. It's because it's in fucking Monterrey. Like you could do it, but you can't do it in the US because of visa issues for half of the teams. You can't do it ahead of time, so you have to do it in Mexico, where obviously the infrastructure isn't as great. So sure, we could also fucking make Mongolia an esports center of Asia, but why not just do it in China when it's like the infrastructure is already there, right? So
it wasn't the infrastructure in Monterrey that was the biggest issue at all. I think there was like maybe like one power issue on day one that they got resolved through the hotel. Most of the issues were involved with, I mean, I guess infrastructure, but in terms of setting up, in terms of like the actual organizers setting up the gear that they had properly. It wasn't like internet outages, in the city.
No, yeah, but that's what I mean. Outages. Just to make myself clear, I don't mean, the city of Monterrey can't support an event there's no internet there. I just mean like whoever you hire to do it locally isn't going to be as great as if you did the same thing with someone in the US or in China compared to Mongolia and Mexico, because simply there's not that much happening there to begin with.
Yeah, but who do you hire in the US to do a Counter-Strike event that has any experience doing CS
Esports
events?
Engine,
which is owned by ESL.
Well, now they are. They weren't back then. Man, you could get get Fragadelphia people who are doing it.
Fragadelphia can't do that on that scale.
Bro, you're telling me that there's not a company in the United States of America that can organize, is it 16 or 8 teams? 16, that can organize like a setup for 16 teams when there's no stage, there's just a playing area and practice rooms in the hotel.
They're probably get some of the fucking reach out to some of the old, I don't know, SIVO guys, whoever the fuck.
I
think you would still have the same issues that were there in Monterrey. Either way, like we're getting into the weeds with this one. My whole point is it's going to be better than it was last time, and like there are going to be those bumps, and it shouldn't happen to that scale, and it won't happen to that scale again in Monterrey, I would imagine. But that's just the kind of the way it is, and. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Like there's just going to be those kind of growing pains as a new organizer gets used to hosting more Counter-Strike events.
But wouldn't you just fly out more oversight if you're PGL, right? Of like, sure, you're hiring other people to do this, but if you know how it went last time, don't you just fly out more oversight and more of your people who know what they're doing?
Yeah, I'd hope so. Blast had a decent amount of people there, but they were more on like the tech side rather than like the admin side. So the admin side is where there were the most issues last time around. It was shit like, again, because it's gonna be the major, like, ensuring coaches aren't talking, aren't cheering, aren't yelling too loud.
There's a lot of walking around, I remember before.
Yeah, but there were a lot of like tech pauses, and again, players probably had access to their phones a little bit more than usual. Players probably had access to things, microphones not working, and so you have admins who aren't experienced at controlling players like that because they are actually just like, I don't know, 19-year-old, Mexican interns in Monterrey that are coming in and never having done this stuff before, God bless. But yeah, it is just like a lack of experience across the board, and it was the admin side of things that that I think struggled with the most at that event. So I think it'll be better. I think there's still going to be bumps. I think it's going to be a little bit awkward too, because it is such an important tournament throughout the circuit. It is such an important tournament for the careers of the players and the teams. So there's going to be a lot less patience this time around from the players. More expectations of it being perfect, which it's not going to be. Yeah. And I think this time the only, it's going to be interesting because we're not going to have boots on the ground this time. You know, like all the talent was there to like see firsthand at the Blast RMR, but all the broadcasts are going to be done out of Bucharest. So no one except for like players and production staff are going to be on location in Monterrey.
Oh,
really?
That's a bombshell from Jason Moses O'Toole right there.
Fuck. I was just about to talk about it. I was just about to say like something.
NHL TV staff
that,
or Dust 2
something
staff.
that kind of sucked was like the lack of. We just had casters, right? And it was
casters doing like short death segments leading.
Yeah, which is like unreasonable to ask for from casters as a first thing. But I think also it lacked like some of the interviews at times or content or just like seeing react. I don't know. Like it just felt like
the content was very basic. It was like 10 pre-planned questions that were the same for like every player. Yeah, it didn't have any like proper show or fanfare.
So I was about to say, listen, if it has to be between that or better content, but having to do it from Bucharest in a weird time zone, I'd even like fucking go with the latter, you know, just have to do it from, which is always like such a shit thing to do because you just can't ever get your body, you know, it's not about jet lag. It's just about you have to get your body to operate at like nighttime and sleep during the day. Like that's not natural, you know, like you're not going to ever feel.
You just spend the
week. Yeah, you're always
going
to feel, like you're always going to be low energy. And at a job where you have to be, at least at times, you know, high energy and all of that stuff. So it's a bit of a sort of a lose-lose situation, but yeah, picking the lesser evil, I guess.
I think it's also a product of, remember, they're running like I mean, how do you, this is where I have a little bit of sympathy because like the RMRs are kind of like back to back to back. That's a lot of fucking resources that you don't have to like give over to creating content and to creating like a really cool show about it. Like I don't know what you're supposed to do.
I would like for me ideally, and obviously it's going to be difficult if they are going to be running all the broadcasts out of Bucharest, like you're saying, Jason. But I liked it when we were doing some stuff in the past, especially in the online era, where it was like the Counter-Strike network. It would go like European into North American into Oceanic, right? Like all Asian, right? And that was like it would 24 hours. Obviously, not everybody can watch all that Counter-Strike, but I kind of like just the madness of that because for the better part of like 2 weeks, it was just bang, 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 bang. There was something always happening.
What was it that did it last? And like that.
The RMRs?
Was it Rio Major or which Major? Antwerp? No.
Well, Rio would have all been.
You mean that did like the World Counter-Strike network?
Ooh. That was online. I think that was for the road to Rio. So we're talking like 2020 online stuff when it would have been like, when me and Alex and Henry were stuck in Germany.
Yeah, but there were, I remember because that was, I remember what you're talking about too. Cause like, there were like days where like, I know E-League had to time different start times because they wanted EU to end right when NA was ready to begin. You know, they had to have NA ready to like kind of go with the stream so that they could just go straight to straight, you know, and then Asia at the end of it so that it was literally just like 18 hours straight of their stream being up or, you know, 24 hours straight of Counter-Strike being played.
Well, that's the thing that I like about when the RMRs is on. It's almost like a bit of March Madness, right? Like in the sense that it's just Counter-Strike coming out of your fucking eyeballs. And it's because the RMRs are more for hardcore Counter-Strike fans. Well, when we get to the major, it's still for hardcore Counter-Strike fans. Obviously, we love it because it's the pinnacle of our game. But it's where you get more casual viewers, the people who only watch, you know, the biggest tournaments every now and again. They come in. Not everyone's interested in watching the qualifiers, but we are obviously because we're that fucking sick and twisted in the brain that we just love injecting this shit into our eyeballs at any given time. But it's not for everybody. The RMRs aren't for everybody. Could they be more exciting? And could we definitely add more production value to them and maybe turn them into bigger and better things? Yes, but it will never have the same yield.
Well, because we actually had this conversation a number of times on this show as well. Is like, Chad, you brought up the idea that the RMRs in some way are like the most important event of the fucking year.
It's true. You do make a couple $1 million if you get the stickers if we're going off the last major. So
right?
yeah,
like,
kind of important.
And in terms of like emotional impact, they have the most emotion to them, like watching people get eliminated from achieving a dream, or, you know, last minute successes like Cloud9's last minute qualification, like, you know, or FaZe's last minute qualification. You know, you have all the drama necessary. It's just they get like the least attention and least fanfare in terms of, as you guys have said, building content around the matches, around the teams. This is where we should be telling the story, but you'd have to make these events a little bit longer if you wanted to introduce some true, real content into it, you know?
Yeah, and I guess that's where the job of stuff like what we're doing now, supplementary things around the scene, is important for people to be getting that information, because I don't think it's up to any one TO to be able to tell that story year round. It's impossible, right? Because Counter-Strike is essentially all of these different events that happen over the course of the year mashed together. And the story, like, so obviously Blast had a circuit and ESL tried to do the same thing with the Pro Tour, but even then it was still quite difficult to be able to continuously tell that story, because we all know as members of the broadcast, nothing fucking irks us more when a TO tries to be like, oh, well, within our tournaments, this guy's stats is this. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about just within your tournaments. I care about the metric that we always use, which is like last 3 months, right? And then even then, if we want to go on LAN and then versus top whatever teams, if you want to use like the filters in that fashion, and then we can start to measure things the way we want. I don't give a fuck that it's in your tournament only and your group stage was played fucking 3 months ago and all the rosters were different. That's not statistics that I care about at all. And when they ask us to like talk about it that way, it's like, well, no, that's so self-serving. For what purpose? You're not even being true to the game. So a lot of that stuff with those circuits that they tried to build, obviously ESL had it, whereas if you win like a challenger event, you qualify for this, and you win this, you qualify for that, you get enough points, you get yourself in here. That was pretty hard for people to follow generally, because what happens is they watch the fall finals and then they watch the Alyssa Masters, and now they're watching BETBOOM getting advertised to every 30 seconds, and then they're going to watch the World Finals next week. And what's the connection of all of these things? Well, this is the thing with Counter-Strike. It's open slather, and it's going to continue to be open slather as we move into 2025. And then what's the important factor of every one of these events? Well, it's the ramp. Okay, it's the ramp to what? The ramp to the majors. Okay, so then what do these events mean for different teams along the point? Okay, they're tour stops. Okay, for this team it means this. For this team it means that. Okay, we get to see two teams lock horns. They get to see how these guys match up, because not every event is going to have all the same teams over and over again. So it's not just this constant jostling of position for that. So the thing with it is, in each little matchup, like with this Gamer Legion versus Chiron stuff, well, not Chiron, BETBOOM stuff, and Chiron said, oh, with the way they practice, they wouldn't have done that. And, we were a little bit, I think he used the term, it made us a little bit evil. That made us hungry for this win. It definitely helped us today, talking about something with prac results. Then I fucking quoted that, retweeted it. Bang, Isaac and Ash from Gamer Legion are out there telling their side of the story. Okay, juicy. Now we've got some fucking stakes. We know that these teams don't necessarily like each other. That's exciting. Right? Counter-Strike is about a lot of things. Right? Obviously, at the end of the day, we want to watch the best teams playing the best Counter-Strike. We want to see the best teams going toe-to-toe. But we also need these little nuggets, these little side stories, these little elements that give us some form of stake, something to get excited about. Otherwise, really, only the big tournaments matter for defining who the best Counter-Strike team is in for that moment. Because you know that everybody wants to be at a Katowice, everybody wants to be at a Cologne, everybody wants to be at the other two majors for the year. And I guess the fall finals were starting to fall into that category. But it was just much harder, and it wasn't open slather for people to be able to qualify as easily. So it was always much more difficult for that fact. But this is where, again, we need to make sure we're defining things. We need to understand that if everything's exciting, then nothing is. Some events are going to be more casual. Some events are going to be more fun. Some are going to be more serious. Some are going to be longer. Some are going to have different fucking formats. It's not all going to be the same from week to week. And that is
shouldn't all be the same. Exactly.
And it's something that a lot of people need to get through their heads. I think the TOs, the people at home, the players, some talent, right? We need to all understand that, everything is going to need a different flavor. And that's just the way the fucking cookie crumbles. Because
I wish more TOs would get on board with like trying new formats. It can't all be the same. Trying to have a little bit more fun with it. Although I guess it's tough because at what point do you not get the top teams to go if you want to try something new?
It's getting late for me, boys.
I wonder where the line is for teams in terms of going to an event that's trying a different format. No, and just saying, nah, we're good. We only want to play the major format, or we only want to play a certain way,
Well,
Chatty B's dropped again. We'll stay on the line.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
agree. I think the way I see it is, listen, ESL is the longest standing sort of tournament organizer in the scene, right? Like they're at the top in that department. Then you have Blast, who's established themselves at the second, biggest dog, consistently running good tournaments, big tournaments and whatnot. So it's like from 2025, like you can see what their models are, and you know how to break the mold, really, and how to innovate and how to try and do something different, which was, for example, what Flashpoint tried to do initially, but didn't work out for a number of different reasons. So I think absolutely there's room for someone to come in and do things differently and attract some attention and viewers by doing that.
Well, and that's kind of what everyone's holding their breath about 2025 for, when all those partnership agreements fall apart and go away, is who else is going to enter the space? Who else is going to try and infuse a little bit of energy and something new and something creative into the scene? Is it just going to be more events? Is it going to be someone else trying to come in and create, their own third circuit? What's it going to look like? So that's kind of the interesting part about 2025 to look ahead towards. But we're still a year away.
Hooray!
Hooray!
All right.
Hooray! Sorry, I don't know what's going on. What's up?
Is there? Well, I was going to say, combine the two parts are 2 hours.
Yeah.
We're at about the 2 hour
Chaddy
mark.
is like, I feel like the first one was out of his control. The second one was kind of him purposefully letting us know,
Boys, I was playing a game of Premiere yesterday. I've been solo queuing Premiere in North America.
You hate yourself right now, Jason. That's exciting.
Yeah, well, Scrawny's gone at events. Stunna's gone at events. My brother plays on a laptop, so sometimes I don't really have the options that the rest of the world has. I was playing a game, and it was obvious in like round 3 that someone on the other team had a little wall action going on.
No, shut up, Jason. Nobody's cheating. What are you talking about? The players on the other side of the server are just better than you, right? There's not a cheating problem in CS2.
Yeah, they make the weirdest moves, and it's always the right one, and it was just obvious. And as the game would go on, we kept it close. We battled back, we dug deep, we found some heart, and we kept it close the whole way against what would end up being 2 cheaters on the opposing team. Oh, but anyways, the point of the story is getting towards the end of the game. I think it was like 10-11. We were down like 1 round, and someone on my team just goes into team chat and he's like, yo, these guys are fucking walling so hard. If you guys call a timeout, I'll quit and I'll restart my PC and I'll load up and I'll win us this game.
Come on,
just someone on my team just blatantly said that in voice chat and called for a timeout. And everyone on my team, I said no, and everyone on my team said yes. And I just sat there. I was like, what the fuck is happening in today's counter? Like, this can't be a thing. People, you can't be like this. Please stop cheating. Please stop thinking it's okay to just load up a cheat. I don't care if these were beatable wall hackers. They actually sucked. They couldn't aim. They knew who was coming, but they couldn't do anything about it because they sucked. We could have beat them just standard.
Sounds like me.
But it's just like the audacity to just say in chat, like, I will quit and load up right now, and being okay with announcing to like, it's not cool, guys. It's not fucking cool.
Oh, that's so sad, isn't it?
I feel it.
I don't know what
it was actually more depressing than playing against cheaters. That happening?
Yeah, because the guys on the other side, like you're banding together, and whatever happens. You've almost you don't need that in your life. It just makes you. Did you try and talk him off the ledge, Jason? Did you try and educate him?
No, I didn't. It's because, at that point I'd already listened to like 20 rounds of like bitching about this guy cheating that I was like so checked out from being like a positive force within the team. I was just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm just going to play. I'm going to try and beat these guys. Yeah. And we did. We got it close. We lost 13-11. But that was sad. That was a sad moment for me.
All right. So
maybe we should.
Let's end it on a happy one.
Oh, okay. I was going to leave it on a somber note, but let's go happy.
It was like after the last episode was when this whole Spotify rap thing started going on, and we got a bunch of tweets from you guys, showing us like how many minutes listened and how you rank and all of that stuff. And to be honest, it blew me away really how many people are out there enjoying the podcast really, and like whether you listen every now and then or on a regular basis, it doesn't matter. For anyone who's like tuning in, just wanted to say thanks. It's appreciated. personally, I really enjoy doing the podcast and just shooting the shit and not having a filter on and getting to talk about whatever it is the fuck we want to talk about. So the fact that there's a bunch of people out there who are getting something out of it as well and find it amusing or funny or educational or whatever it is, that's a good thing.
Or just helping you pass the time. Just helping you get through a drive, a commute, a gym session, whatever it might be. Yeah, I was running errands that day and they kept trickling in, and it made me very happy that day. So thank you to everyone who's tuning in.
You guys are really being nice. I just am super jaded and think that everyone really just hates us all the time these days. So at least you guys are seeing some positive light out there.
Yeah, but that's why those messages and those tweets, chat, are so important, is because it shows you that it's not all hatred and vitriol out there in the world.
So that's spreading the love.
It cannot always be the day, in the words of great Trace Arantas.
Yeah, but he also likes a lot of references.
Red beans and ravioli.
Like a bit of a classic.
So he's a little bit of an up and down.
And on that note, we end the episode.
Peace. See you all next time.